when it comes to maybe a newer mulch producer, they're often looking for ways to reinvent the wheel or to find new efficiencies, maybe shortcuts, if you will. What are some of the factors? And oftentimes they think instead of doing a double or regrind of the material, they're just going to take the raw material from its current state to a finished product and then sell it as mulch or color it for a finished product. What are some of the shortcomings to people thinking that they can take a whole log or a large chunk of wood and make it into a finished quality product instead of taking the traditional primary, secondary grind?
I think every mulch manufacturer or maker out there has tried that at some point in time because it does make sense. We're doing an initial grind and then we're doing a secondary grind. There is a lot of fuel savings there if you could get that product to look to where your customers and your market is going to accept that.
Sure.
But it's I don't want to say it's rare, but it doesn't happen very often.
The bigger the wood, I think the harder it is to make it down to that. If it's smaller diameter brushing material, maybe you could get to a finished product in one pass. But so bigger wood makes that a challenge. So
it does. It's more chunkier and
it's about throughput, right?
Yep.
Productivity and then fuel burn, and it's calculating those differences. So maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. But like we'll talk about, I mean, so much of our industry does a lot of guesswork, and and people often wonder, how can a mulch producer sell their mulch for so little? And it's because they've done the work to calculate, and they're leaving themselves some of their own margin at the end, and they're precisely accounting for what goes into manufacturing that instead of using guesswork. I want to talk real quickly because you guys have a long history in material handling. What do you see in the industry as far as some shortcomings or some opportunities for mulch producers to learn from material handling and the different approaches one can take to move material throughout their site? It often, comes in and it moves through several stages in a mulch yard before it ends up in a delivery truck to a customer's job site. Talk to me about what you would share with a mulch manufacturer when it comes to material handling.
Right. Ideally, you should be handling your mulch with a loader when you're feeding the system and when you're taking that finished product and putting it in truck for sale to leave. Right now, it takes a lot of organization to make that happen. Right. Planning your stockpiles. So what do you do in between? Right. Stacking conveyors. The aggregate industry has been using stacking conveyors for decades.
Right.
It's just the standard. It's the mulch, the biomass type markets have been a little newer to the stacking conveyors, maybe the past 10, 15 years, when you say.
Absolutely.
It's become more popular. They're seeing the advantages. Advantage being they're just so much less expensive to run.
Right.
Right. Couple of reasons. The machine itself is less money. It runs by itself. You don't need an operator. The vast majority of the cost is in fuel burn, which is 2 to 3 gallons per hour.
Right.
Like compared to a loader, the machine is far more money. You're paying an operator, fuel burn, all in. You're talking between $100 and $150 an hour, say, for a typical loader on these sites. Every stacker you got is potentially one fewer loader you're using. Right. If the loader's not worried about moving that finished product from here to there, he can keep the system fed, which ultimately is probably going to result in greater throughput for the day.
Right.
Right. The benefits go on and on.
Yeah, less traffic on your job site.
Maybe less loaders required instead of 2 loaders.
Yeah, I don't think a stacker's ever going to replace the need for a loader, but they certainly complement one another.
Yes.
And the big thing nowadays with real estate prices, vertical real estate is often free.
Yes.
Some jurisdictions, they do restrict how high you can stack a pile, but for the most part, folks can go up a lot cheaper than they can go out.
Right.
And as your operation grows, it's easier to go up than down. So,
and with an 80-foot stacker, which is kind of one of the standards in the industry, you'll get roughly 30 to 33-foot stockpile underneath a machine of that size. You go to a 100-footer, you're up 40 feet ish. So you can make some giant stockpiles very inexpensively.
Right.
There's no question that in our industry over the last 10 years, stackers and conveyors have made sites much more efficient. There's no question that I have seen sites that have employed conveyors and stackers to an extent where they were able to take a loader out of operation and cut staffing, right? Those things pay for themselves very quickly. Not even to mention you're keeping your heavy material from pushing up stockpiles and compressing it and making that product more susceptible to internal combustion. Right. Stacking this product and not driving bulldozers and equipment on it to get it into a pile